Hello and welcome. This is rooflemonger. And my friends, today, well, we're talking the drive impact. Ever been blown up by drive impact? Yeah, I know you have. It's impossible not to in this game. Drive impact, it's a very emotional mechanic. Now, we're going to be talking about the ins and outs of drive impact in this game. So I know you probably know the basics of it, right? Pretty much I think everyone does. You know, you can armor through moves, has 2 hits armor specifically, and if you want to beat a drive impact, well, all you have to do is react back to a drive impact. What could be easier? Well, maybe it's not quite as easy as you think sometimes, but there's a lot more nuances than just it has the armor, you get the combo if it connects, and if you want to beat it, you react back to it. There's a lot to that, yes, but there's a lot more as well. So that's the point of this video, and let's get right into it. So the first thing you probably want to be armed with when it comes to knowledge against drive impact is how fast it is. So to connect, it takes 26 frames from start to finish. First frame to first frame where it can possibly hit you, it is 26 frames. So while that's not the slowest thing in the world, I think it's pretty quick, all things told, honestly. It is definitely what we would call reactable, especially because a lot of situations you're going to be finding it in are going to be things like this. You're going to find yourself going for like whatever combo, and you're going to catch yourself hitting the drive impact, which actually slows it down a little bit because there is a little bit of what we call hit stop when you connect against the armor. So it gives you just a little bit more time. So in those situations, okay, here we go. We have enough time and we can connect and get our drive impact back. And hey, what heroes we are. And we can go from there. But it's not always quite cut and dry like that. Sometimes, like you're just hitting a button, like it's too late. You physically are not going to be able to get that done. It's just going to happen, and for the most part, you're going to have to learn to like it. And another thing, this is one of the bigger things about drive impact, is a lot of moves, like say Chun-Li stand heavy punch, which is a great move. If drive impact didn't exist, this would be one of the best buttons in the game, you'd almost think, right? The thing about this move is there's no drive impacting back. Like, you can hit drive impact button as much as you want, it won't work because drive impact only works on moves that are special cancelable. So say Chun-Li crouch light punch. That can work and beat the drive impact because it is special cancelable. It can go into things like fireball. It can go into things like spinning bird kick, special moves, right? So if it is special cancelable, then you can go into a drive impact. Moves that are not special cancelable, well then frankly, you're just going to eat dirt. It's always going to be punish counter, except for rare situations. Like say Marissa, her charged heavy punch is amazing. But the thing is, since it has slower startup, if you react with the drive impact, it's going to be a punish counter because that move also is not special cancelable in any way. So if it gets caught out by the drive impact, it's just done. So when you're in neutral, you have to keep in mind what moves do I have, what moves am I using, and keep in mind which moves can and cannot be special canceled. That's a big deal against someone who's going to be very happy about just spamming drive impacts. If you smell the drive impact, you should always be having your fingers near to react and also change your moves. So stand heavy punch for Chun-Li is a no-go, right? And there's a lot of characters, a lot of examples like that. But what's a good poke is forward or back medium punch. And this move is special cancelable. So in that situation, if we get caught out when we're poking, now we can react back. So we don't want to necessarily stop poking, but we got to defend ourselves in the event of a drive impact. And so a move like this that is special cancelable, so now just armed with that knowledge, if we see that poke get caught, we can drive impact back. Besides special cancelable moves, special cancelable pokes, you gotta learn the character. Moves that are multi-hitting also are worth their weight in gold if you're sniffing out drive impacts. Like say Jury, forward heavy punch. So this is 2 hitting in and of itself, and you know, say you get your hits, right? Well, then you can go and do whatever combo. Like, that's great. But if it gets caught specifically against a drive impact, those 2 hits are simply that much more time to visually assess and go into your own drive impact back. Because both hits are special cancelable, and therefore both hits are drive impact cancelable. So if you catch that move getting caught, you have 2 hits worth of time now to assess and react back. So that's amazing against drive impacts. Another aspect to look for is moves that would just simply, well, inherently beat drive impact, because drive impact is naturally 2 hits of armor, right? So anything that's 3 hits or more, well, sort of has this numbered then, doesn't it, right? So Jamie's stand heavy punch here is a good example when it's done up close. Since it is 3 hits, it's pretty much always going to beat the armor of drive impact. Say E Honda, naturally 100 hand slaps, right? Multiple hits. So if you're smelling a possible drive impact coming your way, just go like jab and 100 hand slap. Also, specifically for Honda, when he breaks armor with his hands, it counts as a counter hit, which means hands is now +4 instead of +2 on hit. So effectively, this means you actually can link into more hands. So it's just combo stuff that totally works out in his favor. And sometimes you don't necessarily have a cool gimmick, like say Dalsum, right? Dalsum, drive impact crushes a lot of his limbs. Like it by definition, kind of smokes a lot of his moveset, right? But the thing is, he's been given other tools, right? You have to look at not necessarily just the buttons themselves, but everything in the moveset. And Heavy Yoga Flame is very specifically 3 hits, which very specifically means it will break armor, right? So sometimes the answer isn't just the button and whatever gimmicks you can pull from the button, but also just what other moves do I have to contest a potential drive impact rather than just my main buttons. Now, a very important part of contesting drive impact is super moves as well. So in the usual situations where say you're going from like a normal to a fireball, keep in mind that super moves, regardless of level, will always beat armor. So in this situation here, you know, stand heavy punch into fireball, not necessarily a go here. But if we know that drive impact is coming, then we can go into super. Now, this isn't necessarily the most common situation, but it's just to give you an idea. Now, using Ken as an example here, we have the Jinrai kicks, right? So in this scenario here, if you go into low, there's no gap, right? So if the enemy's blocking, then, well, there's nothing to stop them, right? If they were mashing drive impact, there's nothing to come out because there's no gap here. But the overhead, there is a gap. It's a small gap, but there is a gap. And if they were to attempt to drive impact through that, well, you're just going to get blown up, right? Punish counter. And obviously, as a special move, it's not drive impact cancelable, right? But the thing is, that Jinrai kick, the overhead, is super cancelable. And whoops, just turned that drive impact against you now, didn't I, right? Now, as admittedly, you know, a regular special move, that means it's only level 3 cancelable. So look at it as something that like unlocks over the course of the match, right? If I have 3 meters now, if I know my opponent is just like drive impact happy, they're going to mash that gap every time, right? I can't go for it. Now, if I know if I have 3 meters, then all of a sudden the tables will turn. So you can see my inputs are on the side now, right? So what I want to do here when I do my Jinrai kick into the overhead, when the overhead happens here, I just buffer in the motion for my level 3. And if I see that armor flash, I just hit punch. Simple as that. And nothing happens and nothing happens. That's great, right? But it's now just a way to call out enemy. Okay, I know you're looking for this, right? I know you want to master that gap. And now with my 3 meters, please try to mash through the gap, because now I'm going to hang you for it. So sometimes drive impact just it just shuts down certain options, right? But once you have the appropriate level of meter now, then those options come back on the table because supers crush drive impact armor. Now that concept is most dramatic in that example, but even basic stuff, right? Like Lily. So she has good pokes, like stand medium punch, crouch medium punch. And the thing is, crouch medium punch specifically is super cancelable. It cannot cancel into special moves, but it can cancel into super moves only. So in these situations here, if you call it out and you catch it, you can go right into a level 1 super. Since it's not a special, it's just a normal, you can do a level 1 instead of level 3. So is this a situation that would come up often? No, honestly, it really wouldn't. Only once in a blue moon. But you're forewarned and forearmed with the knowledge. Just buffer super in there, right? And if for whatever reason you see that flash, then you can go into a move. Lots of characters have normals that are super cancelable, can go into super moves, but cannot go into special moves. So I highly suggest you try that out character to character. And now just to talk about some corner stuff, it's really bad, you know, to get cornered with a drive impact because you're going to get bounced against the wall and you're going to get blown up. And worse yet, if you're in burnout state, right? But there is some aspects for certain characters that will protect you against it. So Marissa is one example here. She does have her guard stance move, and this will protect her against drive impacts against the wall. So normally, if she were blocked, she'd get blown up against the wall, right? But here, if she does her move, she will successfully defend herself and maybe not necessarily get a full punish, although she will be at a significant frame advantage here, so depends on when and where it hits, right? But she definitely won't get splattered. So this is a good advanced defensive mechanic. This is a character-specific way, because this is also a character without great defense, right? And also, in those situations where it's almost impossible to defend yourself while you're in burnout, like say Cammy, stand heavy punch right into drive impact, right? It's literally a 2-frame gap. It's almost as close as you can get to a checkmate scenario here, right? Because you can't hit buttons out. You can't even jump out. As you can see here, I got the bot set to jump, right? Nope, you're going to get hit, splatted. You can't throw, you can't nothing. You, as a character, only have one real recourse. That is if you have like an invincible super move. Most characters, it's a level 1. So like that would work in this scenario here for her. But if you have no meter, like this is basically a game over scenario, right? But for Marissa, since her armor starts up on the frame that the drive impact would connect, she's able to defend herself in this very specific scenario, right? So for a lot of times, there will be game over scenarios, but if you're creative, you can defend yourself with your character's moveset. Another example of just exploring that moveset, Zangief is extra boned compared to most characters in this scenario, right? But sometimes, depending on the character you're fighting, like say against Cammy, he has the kick counter. And Cammy's drive impact's a kick, right? So sometimes, just sometimes, certain weird little gimmicks can work out for you. So I highly suggest explore your character's move list in full, because even the littlest things might wind up saving you in the end. So that's some extra ideas to help you out against drive impact. Yes, I know, you see it, you react back. That's how it works on paper, but it's not always as easy as that. And there's definitely a lot more facets for you to learn. And I hope this video has taught you some of those facets and given you the info you need to fight against the dreaded drive impact. So that said, well, that's about it for the video. So I hope it helped you out. And otherwise, thank you very much for watching. Hope this video has found you well, and go out and play some Street Fighter.